Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Not long time ago I came across a post, and that post has said, let me paraphrase this, I think I'm correct on that. It said, if the news is fake, imagine the history. So we know the news is fake. We know a lot of history has been hidden from us. I think even most of the history has been hidden from us, or has been rewritten, changed, twisted. As you say, the winner writes the history. But then again, most of us know at this point that someone must be running this war business in the world. Whatever the number of those families is, 13, some say 12, some say different number. They sponsor both sides of the wars. So regardless of who is the winner, because there are no winners in war, we know, ultimately, war is war. But those people always profit, and they always make money and got their demonic energy fueled by the blood, sacrifice, fear, chaos, and turmoil. Why I'm saying all of this to you? Because I have prepared a very, I hope, interesting and rather long, quite long video for you today that I would like to present to you, and I hope you will appreciate this content today, that will touch on different angles of the painter from Austria, the World War II, Polish approach from Polish president towards Germany, and it is very fresh. A few hours ago, he made a statement as he is demanding the reparations from German state. I will play this for you, his words. But there are some things that maybe I should start with. And, you know, it was 86 years ago when September 1st, 1939 has happened. Some people say that Poland has collaborated with the Nazis, and that's why this war took place. I never learned that at school. I want to have more information about it because I am open to learning the truth, to discover the truth, to know the truth. So even if that was the case, I don't have this to present to you because all I know was the level of suffering that took place, and this stayed in the DNA, not just of Polish nation, Russian nation, all around the world, other countries. Okay, this is not just about nations, this is about humanity. All I know was that it was the first day of school, as it tends to be always in Poland, I think in other countries as well, and my father was 7 years old. He was ready to start the first day of his school. And that has changed. My family suffered a lot. Many of the members of my family have died in camps or fighting. That is the truth that I know. And then there is the truth that has been reported, which again, how accurate are those numbers, right? God only knows how you can even count it. So when you look it up, you will find that around 6 million Polish citizens died during World War II. And that was about 1/5 of the entire pre-war population. The Polish government escaped. Polish government was in exile. Yep. But then let's go to the numbers from the Soviet citizens, because this is the largest number of people who died. 27, that's what I came across. Some people say it's much more than that. 27 million Soviet citizens died. That includes 19 million, almost 20 million citizens, civil citizens, and 8.7 military personnel. So how accurate are those numbers? I don't know. But what I know is this was the worst war so far, hopefully no more wars like that ever, or any other, in the humankind history, because we're supposed to elevate. And I think we should all be done at this point with this kind of experience, right? But then again, does it really come from human who wants that to continue? Simple question. I think we all have the answer. Absolutely not. So officially, this war has begun on the 1st of September 1939, and it started with the Battle of Westerplatte, where was the first battle of German invasion of Poland. I will show you this in the map in a second, and I will present to you part of the speech in which Polish President Karol Nawrocki is demanding the reparation from Germany. But I want to start with something different, and that is the conspiracy, or maybe not, story about that painter from Austria with the mustache. Probably this video will not be monetized again because there are a lot of things that I'm going to show you that this platform might not like, or just the name of the painter triggers, you know, the algorithm. So thank you so much for all your donations. And I have to say huge thank you to John, who not only donated on PayPal, but also became my Patreon supporter. And this is really a lot to me. So thank you, John. I appreciate it. But let me start with this painter. So I was coming lately across of several scenarios about him coming to power. Again, I am not that knowledgeable in this, but I'm just presenting to you what I came across. I'm sure many of you can share in the comments section what you know about it. I tell you, when I was growing up, because I was born in Szczecin, that was called Stettin, and that time, that part of Poland belonged to Germany. And when you fly, for example, international, the best airport, the biggest airport close to my hometown is in Berlin. So I remember when we were even driving to Berlin sometimes, and it was to East Berlin in the time when I was little, and the roads were very high quality. And I remember that people used to say that Germans have built such a high quality roads and other things so many years ago, and Poland at the time didn't have that. That's what I remember. So here is one story. One story is that I came across that Hitler was actually originally a good guy. I'm just saying what I heard, okay? He was a good guy, but he went under some brainwashing technology, some MK Ultra program or something like that, you know, like they do to the Hollywood stars and the entertainers and prostitutes, fake news reporters. They brainwash you. So there is a certain psychological procedures that they do on your brain, on you, that they literally change your personality and they can control you, like literally almost like with remote control. Paraphrasing, right? So the version was that he was originally a good person who really wanted to rebuild Germany because Germany suffered heavily after World War I, and he wanted to bring the German spirit back and unite the nation and strengthen it, and that he apparently had some very advanced technology that he was using and rebuilding the country. And then they went after him and they, I don't know, changed him, replaced him with double, who knows, right? So this was one version. Another version was that he was just an average person who was discovered and invested in, and they used him to infiltrate the movement that was already going on in Germany. So they could control that movement and that use him as the so-called leader that was following all the directions that they were giving to him. And the last version is probably the official version that you hear, that he was born evil and he continued to be evil and he died evil. And then, of course, you learn that he died killing himself or they shot him wherever. And the truth is that he actually escaped or was helped or was transported to Argentina, right? Where he allegedly transitioned to who knows what universe. But I want to show you these two clips now from Instagram. that will be presenting the certain era in history of certain individuals. This will be very brief. And they have been gathering in certain places, and somehow most of those people, if not all, committed a lot of nefarious things. I know a lot of people say that Stalin wasn't bad, that he was actually great. That's a lot of Russian people say. Again, I have to have more evidence and how this really is. I don't know everything, but I want to present this to you. And also I will be showing you today a fascinating documentary that has been presenting the collaboration between the CIA and Nazi. So you might enjoy that. It will be a long video today, everyone, so just bear with me. And like I said, I have this short speech from President of Poland demanding the reparation from Germany. And then a very interesting a documentary that was a black and white movie that has been colored, and it shows you the first days of German invasion and the siege of Warsaw. And I think you would really feel the energy, the raw and realness of those people as if they are still among us. It's so realistic, it's incredible. So let's go to the Instagram first. Let's look at this post. And if you appreciate the content today, I hope you will hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. So let's go to this first. So let me just stop with the sound. Okay, so what was going on in Vienna in 1913? We have Freud, Stalin, Hitler, Trotsky, and Tito. Okay. They frequented the same cafe in Vienna in 1913. All right, so let's read this, everyone. In 1913, Vienna was one of Europe's leading intellectual centers. During this period, one of the city's most famous coffee houses, Café Central, served as a meeting place for many prominent figures. Among those present in Vienna that year were Sigmund Freud, the founder of psychoanalysis. So here is just a direction to go to, because what he was involved in, Freud, I think a lot of us know what kind of mental studies, let's put this way. Leon Trotsky, the revolutionary leader, and Joseph Stalin, who would later become the leader of the Soviet Union. Café Central was a hub for thinkers, writers, and political figures of the era. It is known that Karl Kraus, Adolf Loos, Stefan Zweig, Lenin, Stalin, Trotsky, and even Hitler frequented the establishment. This makes Vienna in 1913 a unique historical intersection rarely paralleled in modern history. So interesting. Now the question is, was it a hub for grooming those who would lately supposed to do things in the world? So that's how it started. But then maybe some of them broke out from it. For example, let's say that Russian people would say probably that Stalin wasn't like that. So maybe that was the case, you know, like we have the World Economic Forum, and for example, Putin goes there, right, to get some knowledge. Maybe that's kind of similar time travel. So let's go to this post. This is interesting one, because he's gonna say a few things that I agree with and some things I don't, but let's play it. Let's take a listen. Who put Hitler, why he was put in power? Let's take a listen to this post.
Again, I noticed it was mentioned here at this conference that, well, everything would have been okay except Hitler was the bad guy, and he kind of screwed everything up. Well, let me tell you, folks, do your homework. Hitler didn't just suddenly appear. Hitler, number one, was a military intelligence agent who was assigned to infiltrate the Nazi Party, because they want to rebuild Germany and they hate the Jews and they want to rearm and they want to repudiate the Versailles Treaty. So his superior said, that sounds pretty good. Here's some money. Go back and help out. So they created Hitler. And then as he began to gain more power, who was behind him? Another secret society, the Thule-Gesellschaft, or the Thule Society, made up of some of the leading industrialists, leading intellectuals in Germany at the time. People, and also people who had an intimate working knowledge of the occult. At the time of the Russian Revolution, Where was Lenin? He wasn't in Russia. He was in Switzerland. Where was Leon Trotsky, the communist key philosopher? He wasn't in Russia. He was in New York City working for Wall Street capitalists. Lenin was the same thing. We all know that he was put on a sealed railroad car and traveled through wartime Germany that was at war with Russia and was sent on into Russia to take over the government and set up the communist system. Again,
So this man said a lot of important things, and I think a lot of those things might be actually true. That's the fact. But he said that it's about hating Jews, etc. And you know what I think? I think the Zionists created this, the same families who sponsor both sides of the wars. So those people, again, this is not a humankind, okay? This is a different bloodline, and they operate completely different. But don't you think this is the time that humanity is waking up to the truth? And that's why, I mean, they already are losing it big time, because you cannot stop this. With the social media, if you are interested in finding out the truth, sooner or later you will. The same case with me. Like, I don't know a lot, but I know a little bit more than an average person who maybe doesn't have time to go deeper into those rabbit holes and study a little bit. I do this so I can present this on this channel, so maybe I will help someone or trigger someone to ask more questions, and they do their own research, and maybe they find information that I was not able to find. So now let's go to something that is documented. That's actually a video. Those were black and white images originally, and those are real people, the real story, real moments. This is not CGI, this is not AI, this is what was taking place in 1939, documented by American reporter. And I want to show this to you because I think it's really, it's a really good documentary, not long. And I hope you will appreciate this as well. It shows you real people going through real moments. And the government, who is in exile, where is it? They're waiting for help. And where the help is coming from? Literally nowhere. And what they have to do with either Hitler or Stalin? Probably zero, nothing. They just live their lives. And that's majority of us, right? So let's take a look.
These were the only pictures made in the city during the siege. Barricades were being thrown up throughout the town. Everyone had to help. The newspapers and radio were giving reports of army victories to keep up civilian morale. Of the progress of the war outside the city, we received only false reports. But suddenly we knew the truth. On the 10th day, soldiers started flooding back, retreating. Warsaw was almost surrounded. The bridges over the Vistula were the main military objectives of the air raiders. Planes dived low over the city as they attacked. Polish anti-aircraft batteries actually made many direct hits. About 50 German planes, all told, were brought down while I was in Warsaw. 7 women had been machine gunned from the air while digging potatoes. Beside one mother's body, a stunned child waited for what might happen next. They knew that if they dug, they might be machine gunned. But if they didn't, that they would surely starve. And huge craters were blasted in the streets, sometimes almost at my feet. They huddled together, perhaps drawing some courage from contact with their fellow sufferers. It was pitiful, for in groups like this, a bomb could rub out scores of lives. Between 300 and 400 enemy planes a day were overhead. By the 12th day, it was absurd even to sound alarms, for there was always an air raid. Stores had kept open so long as there was anything to sell. Then the city established bread lines, where more than half the population lined up for their daily rations. People were constantly moving, sometimes saving the least useful but most prized possessions from the debris of their homes. Demoralized, they shifted about the city, seeking safety. They were lucky who owned a horse and wagon, because the entire family, even to the house pets, could be moved together with enough necessities. By this time, the German Air Force, which had outnumbered the Polish planes by 20 to 1, had left not a defending ship in the sky. A new type bomb appeared, a 500-pounder. It was almost impossible to put the fire out. The water mains had been blown up. At night, I roamed through the city, photographing blocks of closely packed apartments, which were in flames. Blackouts were completely ineffectual, and the fires lighted up the city for miles around, by 25 or more misses. I made these scenes on a Sunday afternoon. The church had been struck during Mass that morning. This hospital was hit 5 times the day before I photographed it. Wounded civilian victims of earlier air raids in the city had occupied these beds when this raid came. It was like a grim avenger, relentlessly determined that they should not escape. In the operating room, the largest maternity hospital, holding their newborn infants on their laps, 4 days old, and already a casualty of war. Here were youngsters with life just starting, being hidden away from death. One woman explained that the planes flew low just above the treetops, spraying the fleeing women with machine gun bullets. Still another told of 9 who were killed by shell fire. When they learned that I was an American photographer, somehow they seemed to believe that I'd come all the way from the United States to help them. But I could do no more than capture the record, written in their faces, dazed, angry, magnificent. Many of the middle-aged were sullen and angry. Youngsters were half resentful, half resigned, while their elders turned to prayer. These are the faces of a nation besieged. These helpless civilians were the real victims and the unhappy heroes of the war of siege. May God have mercy on them.
Can you feel it, guys? You know, it's those people are always people who suffer, the regular people. How great that this man put together this document. Would he know in that time, 86 years ago, that there will be someone watching this now around the world? And you can still feel the energy and the suffering and the pain and glimpse of hope and despair in those people's faces. It's incredible, huh? Because that's the energy, and this doesn't die. So now let me show you this place. We go to Karol Nawrocki, who was visiting this place. I think this was from yesterday, that speech, very fresh, or maybe from today, I don't know. But this is yesterday or today when he visited. Let me show you on the map, because he's gonna mention this region a lot. So you have the map of Poland right here, and he will be talking, this is the current map, of course. In that time, Poland had different borders, so did Germany and other countries. So let's go to Westerplatte. As we are zooming, this is the Baltic coast right here, Gdańsk. Gdynia, it's a very new city, was actually built, I think, in 1921. Beautiful city, I like Gdynia very much. Okay, so we have Westerplatte, right here where I'm pointing. You can see the statue. Westerplatte was the place where the first battle of the German invasion took place. So he's making the speech, and I have chosen this part for you, in which one he is demanding the reparation from Germany. So I have to say a few things about our new president, Karol Nawrocki, before I take you there. I am, and I say it with full awareness what I'm saying, I am very impressed so far with a lot of things that he is doing. There is one thing that I just wonder how this will go forward, if he will come to different level of understanding, because he looks at Russia now, the Russian Federation, as is the same as was the Soviet Union. This is just my impression. For Poland and Poles, what he's doing is really different from any other person who was in higher position before. He is opposing things that no one before had cojones to do, especially in regards to our new guests that enter Poland in 2022. You know what I'm talking about, and those he has to be the most protected from. So the only thing lately that I am not sure how he's going to overcome his resentment and hatred towards Russia is one thing that I am watching, because I know that ultimately, and he said it himself, we have to come to the point of stability and peace. And for someone like him who knows a lot about Polish history, and let's just say that maybe he knows the truth, he had an access to it as he was the director of National Remembrance Institute. I think that's how I say it in English. He knows a lot about Polish history, and he truly loves Poland. You can tell, like, I'm a Polish person, so I can see, listening to how he speaks, watching his energy, studying this man really is true patriot. I can feel it at this moment. I wasn't expecting this to be the case, but so far he's proving this to me a lot. And vetoing certain things, signing decrees, focusing on Poland. This is like our version of Polish Trump. I don't want to compare him to Trump, but as far as the conservative approach, family, the values of Poland, the essence of Poland, he's definitely for it. So now you're going to hear from him about those reparations. He's going to mention the Soviet Union. And let's take a listen what he had to say in the face of the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, who is totally the lapdog of Ursula the witch, Ursula von der Leyen, who is absolutely pro-German business direction, not pro-Poland, pro-EU, pro-Euro-Kołchoz business. So he's saying this while Prime Minister Tusk is sitting in the audience, who didn't want Germany to pay any retributions to Poland. Am I for retributions or against them? I don't want to say this because I think that there is so much to it. Maybe it's not my place to say yes or no, but this is very interesting how the Polish president is simply having cojones and just saying things like that. He has to have really heavy protection now around him, because not just those who want the social support from the East don't like him, but many others as well. But Polish people who care for the country, they appreciate him now more than before. So let's take a listen to what he had to say. I will be reading his words, actually not listen, I will be reading his words because it's easier this way. So let me find this, guys, one moment. And thank you for watching a longer video today. Okay. So the title is Karol Nawrocki demands reparations from Germany and compensation for injuries to Poles. Today, another signal must be heard from Westerplatte. One more truth must be revealed about what began on September 1st, 1939. Here at Westerplatte, it says Westerplatz, but it's Westerplatte, we face great challenges in the face of the reversing neo-imperialism of the post-Soviet Russian Federation. We face the tasks of building the European Union and the North American Alliance. We are carrying out these tasks together with our trading partner and our neighbor, the Germans, with the perpetrators of World War II, who hand in hand with the Soviets and Stalin led to the outbreak of this war and who attacked Westerplatte in order to be able to build based on the foundation of truth and good relations with our Western neighbor. We must finally settle the issue of reparations from the German state, which as President of Poland, I unequivocally demand for the common good, for our future. Reparations will not be an alternative to historical amnesia, but Poland as a frontline state, Poland as the most important state on NATO's eastern flank, needs justice, truth, and clear relations with Germany. But it also needs reparations from the German state, because only wealth that is not a sin is good, and wealth that is built on the hard work of successive German generations and is built on the support of Germany after 1945, but is also built on the violations of the 10 Commandments, which say you shall not kill and you should not steal. And if you have killed and stolen, you must confess your guilt, you must apologize, and you must make amendments for our common future, for the security of our alliances. We are waiting for reparations from the German state, and I believe that the Prime Minister, now he's putting him at the spot, listen, and I believe that the Prime Minister and the Polish government will strengthen the voice of the Polish president on the international stage, and we will build our true, secure future together with our Western neighbors, because everyone has their own Westerplatte. Our Westerplatte, our duty, our common cause is to also seek truth and honesty towards our Western neighbors. Long live the heroes of Westerplatte. Eternal shame to the German and Soviet murderers. Long live Poland. So I will attach this full speech down below in the description box. He is very confident in many things he's doing lately. He was actually in my hometown 2 days ago, the day before yesterday. He was in Szczecin. It's very interesting to watch this president. I say there are a lot of good things about him. Again, his approach to Russia is very, very strict, resentful, hateful, and he has his reasoning for it because he believes what has been shown in the history books. I don't know, guys. This is the thing. This is how they manipulate all of us by twisting the narrative, presenting certain narratives and making us believe it. So now I want to take you to another narrative that you lately hear more about, but you know, they don't really talk about this officially because that's not convenient. This is the CIA Nazi collaboration. It's a documentary. I'm gonna play it. It's a little longer. I hope you will listen to this. Has been put out a number of years ago, but I think for today, it's an appropriate video because, you know, what happened to all of those people, right, that committed the crimes and killed all those millions? These Nuremberg trials, what really happened after those Nuremberg trials? Like, if you go through the trial, what is the punishment? Have they been punished? Really? Have they? So let's take a listen, and I hope this video goes through. Just in case, if you see some advertisements, please forgive me for that, because that's how it is. I have to skip through the ads. Sorry guys, I'm having some issue with the refreshing of this video. So let me just see if the computer is collaborating with me here on this. Just give me a moment. I have to refresh it first. The page is not working. Okay.
This strange new device could produce endless off-the-grid power. Did you know that there's a simple...
Just bear with me. We're gonna get through this. Thank you.
The Office of Policy Coordination. It was
Close to 200,000 Americans lost their lives fighting the Nazis in World War II, and yet hundreds of those Nazis and their collaborators eventually wound up living comfortably here in the United States, becoming U.S. citizens. How did it happen? That is the story we shall tell in The Nazi Connection, a story you have never heard till now, of how highly placed U.S. officials, despite the express orders of two presidents of the United States, invited Nazi collaborators, killers, to these shores to trade what they knew about the Soviet Union for sanctuary here.
several hundred Nazi collaborators from Eastern Europe and Russia were smuggled into the United States for intelligence purposes.
Smuggled by whom?
State Department intelligence, specifically.
Sorry to stop this, but when he say from Eastern Europe, you know what country? That starts with U, right?
The Office of Policy Coordination. It was the first covert spy agency set up in the United States. It predated the CIA by several months.
Who is this man making these charges, and what gives him the right to say what he has just said? His name is John Loftus, and for 2 years he was a prosecutor with the Office of Special Investigations in the Department of Justice, responsible for weeding Nazis and Nazi collaborators out of the United States. His security clearance went 3 levels above top secret, but this young Irish Catholic attorney, now in private practice in Boston, has decided that his conscience demands that he bring to light what he says remained for too long, a dark and sinister top secret.
We had one unit of the government out trying to prosecute the Nazis, and other units of the government trying to secrete the information. We later established that the files pertaining to the Nazi immigration had been withheld from Congress, from the courts, from the CIA, and from the local agents of the Immigration Service.
Didn't President Roosevelt, didn't President Truman say specifically that war criminals were not to be brought into the country?
That's absolutely true.
And Jimmy Carter went even further in 1980, when he said that any Nazi war criminal who had gotten into the United States should be rooted out.
The world must never forget the lessons of the Holocaust. That is exactly the reason why, after 40 years of government inaction, I set up a special unit in the Department of Justice to root out Nazi war criminals who may be in hiding in the United States.
That was the unit John Loftus worked for, a unit that is still trying to denaturalize and or deport Nazi war criminals living in the United States. We asked Loftus who it was who had run the old OPC, the Office of Policy Coordination, that was responsible for bringing Nazi collaborators into the United States.
A man by the name of Frank Wisner. He was a former intelligence operator during World War II.
With the OSS?
That's correct. His boss was Alan Dulles in Germany.
The Office of Strategic Services, was it called?
Yes, it was.
Was there nobody in the State Department at a higher level who knew what was going on and okayed it? Did Frank Wisner have no boss?
There were three men who principally were Eisenhower's representative for Cold War affairs during the early 50s. C.D. Jackson, Undersecretary of H.E.W. Nelson Rockefeller, and Vice President Richard Nixon.
Would they have known that former Nazi war criminals were being employed by U.S. military intelligence and were being invited into the country, given U.S. citizenship, despite what they had done?
I read some classified information that indicated that a number of these programs were approved at the highest levels.
Whether Richard Nixon, the late Nelson Rockefeller, and the late C.D. Jackson, former publisher of Time Life, whether they knew is still an open question. But if they didn't know, then they too were being lied to, as was the case with the Congress later on. The story begins here, when the Nazis invaded the Soviet Union in 1941. Just a few months after the invasion began, the Nazis had captured huge tracts of territory that extended from the Ukraine to Byelorussia. Byelorussia was to be the Nazis' highway to Moscow. At first, the Nazis were welcomed as liberators by the people, scarred by the purges of Stalin. But that changed when the Einsatzgruppen, the Nazi mobile killing squads, entered. These units recruited collaborators from among the Soviet people to massacre hundreds of thousands of civilians. The Russian collaborators with the Nazis served so faithfully and so well that the Germans made the collaborators into their own SS division known as the Belarus SS.
So now, are they talking about Ukrainians, right? Or what is the truth? Let's just listen to this entire documentary, because again, do I believe in everything? No, but I think there are some truths that are hidden in this. So let's continue with this story.
We're talking about the leaders of an SS division that fought against Americans and the leaders of a Nazi puppet government in Byelorussia that by the end of the war had exterminated 25% of their civilian population, including nearly all of the country's Jewish population, some 750,000 Jews. I decided to pick one of the regions of Byelorussia and see if we could find how many Nazi officials from that region were in the country. All of them were. They knew that the entire Nazi government of Byelorussia, the president, the vice presidents, cabinet ministers, governors, mayors, police chiefs, were all living in America. They knew that.
Who's they?
The FBI, Army counterintelligence, Army foreign intelligence, the Department of State. They knew, and they recruited them because they were Nazis.
As early as 1946, the major espionage services of the United States and the Soviet Union were engaged in a clandestine conflict. The demand for intelligence was so great that a seller's market sprang up. Hundreds of former Nazis and Nazi collaborators found employment in one intelligence service or another. A few of the boldest worked for both sides. According to Loftus, emigres with intimate, if dated, knowledge of Eastern Europe and former Nazi intelligence officers competed to peddle fabricated reports to any intelligence service gullible enough to buy them. And OPC was a willing buyer. But I still want to make this clear. Did U.S. military intelligence know the kind of people they were bringing in?
Beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Shortly after being apprised of what Loftus had learned, Alan Ryan, head of the office Loftus worked in, sent a top-secret report in October 1980 to then Attorney General Benjamin Civiletti, saying that this was the single most important matter his office was engaged in. That report said, quote, "It should be apparent that the matters discussed in this report are extremely sensitive, both because of the number of Belarusian Nazis who entered this country and the extent to which U.S. government agencies apparently assisted that entry, possibly in violation of the law." John Loftus also gave a set of classified documents on the matter to Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank of the House Subcommittee on Immigration. When you first heard this tale, Congressman Frank, what did you think?
I thought it couldn't possibly be true. I thought it was the kind of thing that the paranoid type people make up and really wasn't true. To think that within a year or two, after discovering the death camps, that the top officials of the American government could have been working with butchers, Nazi butchers, to kind of sneak them into the country. No, I didn't believe it.
Are you convinced now the story's true?
I'm convinced it's true. Yes.
What has convinced you?
The documents I've read, either someone has done, for purposes I couldn't fathom, the most massive set of forgeries in history, or the documents make it very clear.
What documents have you seen, Congressman Frank, that convinced you?
One that I have right here, which is a page on Emanuel Jashuk, who was one of the Nazi leaders in Belarusia, who was guilty of the worst kinds of crimes, smuggled over here, allowed to become a citizen.
What does it say?
It says, for instance, that in approximately February 1942, he was appointed mayor of Stolce. 2 months later, he was raised to the position of the head of the district of Stolce, which he held until 1944. People should understand that he was appointed to these positions in occupied Russia by the Nazis.
By the German Nazis.
By the German Nazis, and where he was, in fact, promoted because of his good work.
What was his good work?
His good work was to help, one, murder innocent Jewish people, two, to fight the Allies.
Why was U.S. intelligence so
They are just talking about Jewish people. Again, no offense to Jewish people here, but this is if this story is referring to true things, so these are the people who were committing Volyn genocide, etc. That's how I'm listening to this and coming to this conclusion. And again, those are the ancestors. I'm actually going to close this video, guys. Those are the ancestors of Victoria Nuland, right? And many other people who were or still are in the governments, and not just in the US, in Canada, and other countries. So we should not be surprised. And this explains the Ukraine conflict pretty well, because it makes a full circle of who gives the directions, who gives the orders, who pulls the strings, etc. Again, how much of that documentary is true or not, you can let me know what you think. I'm not an expert, but I want to present to you things that I come across to use our own self-critical thinking and to question things. So thank you everyone for watching a longer video today. Hope you're okay with this. Not sure if this platform will be okay with some words. So if it's not monetized, well, let it be. Thank you for your support, for hitting thumbs up, subscribing, leaving comments down below. And if you choose to support my work, you have Patreon, PayPal, locals, or you can just become the member of my channel or use the super thanks. Links will be, if you scroll down below in the description box. And if you have Instagram, make sure to follow me there. It's Ania K_44. Actually, let me show you what is my Instagram account that is a little bit more healthy and doesn't talk about politics too much. I put in the stories sometimes, but you can see the travels. This is the account, Ania K_44. You can see more my personal life here. Of course, not everything. But anyway, thank you so much, guys. Lots of love. And remember, we are the leading edge and we are saving humanity. And I see you in another video. Bye, everyone.